And welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and of course we have Foundations coming out. I'm going to be making a couple of videos about it. I think there is enough to talk about here, and I also don't absolutely hate this set, so I guess my review here overall will be a little more positive. Of course, there's a few things I don't love, and a lot of people have already brought up the anime art. I heard that a lot in my spoiler videos of they did quite a bit of anime art in, I don't know if it was in the main set or the Jumpstart. Again, there's a lot of different things happening here all at once. I'm just lumping it all in together, whether it be the Jumpstart, Foundations Jumpstart, or Foundations or whatever the Commander set, whatever the case may be, I'm lumping it all in together. A lot of people didn't love all the anime art. I don't know if I'm a big fan of it either, but that's just an aesthetic thing. For some people, that's a big deal. For some people, it's not really a deal at all. You know, some people are going to be a big fan of the anime art. Some people are going to absolutely hate it. And a lot of people are just not going to care one way or another. They're more interested in what the cards are actually doing. In this video, I will be covering the Commanders, the ones I at least think are worth talking about. I will start out with the new loot that we got. So loot Exuberant Explorer, 2 and a green, Beast Noble 1/4. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. I think that alone is going to make people want to go after this commander. And of course, that will also probably likely put this in on the 99 of a lot of decks. There is a bunch of commanders. You know, as I already talked about in my spoilers videos, they kind of feel like an introduction to commanders or something like that. A lot of monocolored ones as well. But also for that reason, they fit in the 99 of a ton of decks. This guy's going to go in the 99 of a lot of decks. I don't know how many of these exploration effects we have now where you can play additional lands. We have so many now that it's almost not becoming an auto-include for the landfall decks anymore because, you know, I already got like 7 or 8 that are allowing me to do that. I mean, maybe not. We also got a pretty good ability here. 4 green, and tap. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from among them and put it onto the battlefield. Put the breast on the bottom in random order. I guess we're cutting out the library part here now. They just keep cutting out words every time. So again, it's not enter the battlefield anymore. It's just enter. And now it's not put the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. It's just put the rest on the bottom in random order. You're just supposed to infer, you know, and again, for a new Magic player, that could get a little confusing. It could be like, put the rest on the bottom of what? Yeah, I mean, I guess it's obvious that it's library, but you'd have to do a little inference there if you didn't actually know. They just keep cutting words out. In fact, they've done it even more in this set. Anyway, talking about the commander, obviously this is very similar to a Mael of the Anima. And, you know, I mean, the abilities are, I don't know if they're identical, but they're pretty darn close. Of course, Mael, it's also a 6 mana ability. You're looking at the top 5, you know, that's not so bad. And you're only getting a creature with power 5 or greater, but that's what you want to get, right? So, you know, which one's better? You could debate it. I would say Mael, just the fact that it's 3 colors allows you to play like Avacyn and, you know, some really powerful creatures you could throw in your deck. With loot, you can only use green, but, you know, obviously there's a lot of great creatures that you can get there. Again, this is another commander that I think is likely just going to go in the 99 of a ton of decks. It'll be played a little bit, but more so I think it'll be in the 99. Elenda, Saint of Dusk. So we got another Elenda as well. 2 white and a black Vampire Knight 4/4. Lifelink hexproof from instance, which is a pretty good hexproof, of course, because it's going to get most of the removal spell. I mean, this is just going to be helping against removal, which makes this a pretty decent Voltron commander, I would say. As long as your life total is greater than your starting life total, Elenda gets +1/+1 and has Menace, of course, so that's not difficult to do. All you need is 41 life, and your commander is now a 5/5 with Menace, Lifelink, and Hexproof from instance. Not bad. However, she gets an additional +5/+5 as long as your life total is at least 10 or greater than your starting life total. And of course, because your commander is Lifelink, you get in for damage. If it's already, you know, the 5/5 now, you know, getting to that, I guess 50 life is what you would need. I don't think is going to be super difficult. And then your commander is a 10/10 Lifelink Menace Hexproof from instance. Pretty good Voltron commander. Very different from the first Elenda, I would say. I think the other Elenda is better than this. This is just, you know, very Voltron-y. Not the greatest game plan for a white-black life gain deck, in my opinion. I think there's probably better directions to go. Maybe Voltron strategies are making a comeback in Commander now because they certainly died out for a while. It's an interesting one. You know, it's definitely a different direction than they went with the first one. Brigone, Soldier of Meletus, 1 and a white human soldier 2/2 with vigilance. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Brigone, Soldier of Meletus, put a +1/+1 counter on Brigone. And I will just say we did get the heroic mechanic back in this set, and we also got a lot of the whole targeting your creatures thing. So again, if you're in that theme, like a feather deck, for example, by the way, as I said before, you don't have to target your feather with those spells, guys. You can target any of your creatures. Feather's ability works with any of your creatures. So you can put a Brigone in there, and you might want to, because you can tap her and remove a +1/+1 counter from her to draw a card. That's a pretty good build around. And again, maybe you could go Voltron route here. I think it's possible. You know, obviously your commander has vigilance, so you can attack with it. And then I would probably wait until the end step before my turn, tap my commander, draw a card by removing a counter, obviously, and then it untaps on my turn, and I can attack with it again, obviously. That's probably the best strategy to go. Again, this feels like a commander that probably will go in the 99 of a lot of decks. Again, fits great in a feather deck. Also, obviously fits great in any +1/+1 counter theme, because you can just, you know, any effect that's piling counters on your creatures, you could just put this in a, you know, a Rocco deck. There's a white deck that's putting counters on its creatures. Just put counters on this guy and remove them. So it just essentially becomes tap, draw a card with this guy, right? And also you can attack with it. So another commander I think will probably likely go in the 99 of a lot of decks. This commander is, funny enough, getting a little bit of buzz. Ozox the Clattering King, 2 and a black, Skeleton Noble 3/2. And maybe because it's just a skeleton, I heard one guy say that he just loved that this was a skeleton commander that was actually doing a skeleton kind of thing, right? So it can't block, which weirdly enough is kind of a skeleton thing. When Ozox dies, create Jumble Bones, a legendary 2/1 black skeleton creature token with this creature can't block, and when this creature leaves the battlefield, return target card named Ozox the Clattering King from your graveyard to your hand. So I don't know how much there is to build around here. You have a commander that you can very easily sacrifice. I think we already have a few commanders like that in mono black. Certainly unique. We don't really have anything like this. I mean, let's run through the Ashnod's Altar scenario here, right? So I sack my commander. I get the 2 colorless. It's going to go to the graveyard, and obviously I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to put it back in the command zone. I will get my 2/1 black skeleton called Jumble Bones. I can then sacrifice the skeleton. So now I have 4 colorless. I can get my commander back to my hand, right? It's not going back to play. Then obviously I can use the colorless to cast my commander and then kind of repeat the process. I mean, even without any craziness, you could very easily get into some loops here where you're having your commander die quite a bit, I guess. Hey, yeah. And if you have a Blood Artist effect in play, you could do some serious damage. Always play Graveyard Hate, guys. Just saying. I've always advised people to put Graveyard Hate in their decks, and this is why. Yeah, you can get some pretty serious loops with this guy. Again, though, I think this is a commander that likely will be in the 99 of more decks than it will be as a commander, I think. Moving on, we got a new Kiora. Kiora the Rising Tide, 2 and a blue Merfolk Noble 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. So that's a pretty good thing to have on your commander, right? I love looting. I've really become a huge fan of looting in the commander format, because you just gets to the cards you want, right? And gets rid of cards that you don't really need right now. Or I'm just drawing lands off the top or something. I already got a bunch of lands. Get rid of those, get something better, right? Has the Threshold ability. And I'm wondering now, if we haven't had any commanders with Threshold on them before? I don't know. Maybe not. Whenever a Kiora attacks, if there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you may create Scion of the Deep, a legendary 8/8 blue octopus creature token. Wow. So getting Threshold here, obviously you're already drawing and discarding, so that's not going to be very difficult. I was talking about it on the Discord. I'm like, man, this card's standard legal? This seems like a powerhouse in standard, creating an 8/8 octopus that easily. It's funny, I just recorded my 5 unique commanders video, my next one, which you haven't seen yet, I don't think. Likely it hasn't come out yet. Probably won't come out for a while, but I talked about Inquisitor Eisenhorn in that video, and the unique idea I thought there was, why not build around I'm making those tokens, because that's also making legendary tokens. There's actually quite a few commanders out there making legendary tokens. So this idea applies to pretty much all of them, because you can use a mirror box or mirror gallery effect to just keep cranking out those tokens, right? The legendary stipulation there is going to have it so that you can't just keep cranking out tokens. You can only have one, obviously, right? Well, if you got the mirror gallery effect in play, and with Kiora as well, you can just keep cranking them out. And every time you attack with your commander, I mean, that's not even a fringe strategy with this commander. I think that would be an auto include if you were doing this commander, those mirror gallery effects. And of course, Sakashima, which is the other effect that does that, would be an auto include with this commander as well, because now you can copy your commander. So I copy my commander with Sakashima. Of course, the legend rule doesn't apply. And now both my original commander and the Sakashima, as they attack, are cranking out those 88 tokens. That seems really good, right? So you definitely want to go that direction if you are building around this commander, I think. We also got a new Alicia. How about that? This one is Laughing at Fate instead of Laughing at Death, I think the other one was. And this one is only Rakdos. So 1 black and a red human warrior 2/2. First strike, whenever Alicia attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And I find it interesting, again, like the rewording that they're doing here, a little all over the place. A lot of the creatures said whenever this creature does a thing, like whenever this creature enters. They didn't do it here though. They didn't say whenever this creature attacks, put a +1 counter on it. They actually used the name. So yeah, I'm not sure. Doesn't seem like we have a lot of consistency there. Anyway, has the raid ability at the beginning of your end step. If you attacked this turn, return target creature card with mana value less than or equal to Alicia's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. So better than the other one, maybe, maybe not. Obviously, you can just attack with your Alicia. It gets a +1/+1 counter on it, and you now have a 3/3. So you're already returning bigger creatures from the graveyard, because of course the other one was only, what, power 2 or less, right? You can obviously just put lots of different things on your commander to make its power bigger. And also, you don't have to attack with your commander. Unlike the other Alicia, where you had to attack with your commander to get the trigger, here, you can just attack with any creature. You just, at the beginning of your end step, if you attack this turn with anything, with a Thopter token, right? Yeah, I mean, you don't have white here, but is this better than the original Alicia? Maybe. All right, Fumulus, the Infestation, one I already talked about in a spoiler video. Man, this one's really good, I think. So it's 3 and a black, vampire, insect, 2/2, flying, death touch. Whenever player sacrifices a non-token creature, create a 1/1 black insect creature token with flying. So that's everyone. And of course, it's very easy for you to build around that. Put lots of sack outlets in your deck. And it also is very easy for you to obviously force your opponents to sacrifice creatures. Not hard to do that in mono black. All those edict effects in black, you know, even a Grave Pact. Funny enough, that's a card I don't see much in the commander format anymore. Used to see it all the time. I think it definitely goes in this deck because you can sacrifice a creature, get a trigger off of your commander, and then of course the Grave Pact will force all your opponents to sacrifice creatures. Assuming it's a non-token creature, it will then make you a whole bunch of black insect tokens. And then when you attack with an insect or leech, slug, or worm, defending player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And obviously your win con here is you're attacking with your insects, but also draining your opponents. The life gain, very much I would build around here. You know, I would put a Witch of the Moors in here. I would probably put a Well Lost Dreams in here. As I say all the time, if your deck is gaining a life consistently at all, Well Lost Dreams is going to be your best card draw option. I think this is a pretty powerful commander, honestly. We got a new Koma as well. That's right, Koma World Eater, 3 green, green, blue, blue. So I believe this is the exact same casting cost as the first one. Serpent 8/12, so bigger than the other one. In fact, quite a bit bigger than the other one. Is this better? Maybe, maybe not. So the spell can't be countered, exactly like the other one. Trample and Ward 4. So, of course, Trample is great when you got a big creature. Ward 4 is pretty darn good too. Whenever a Koma deals combat damage to a player, create 4 3/3 blue serpent creature tokens named Koma's Coil. Now, this seems ridiculous. I mean, it is. This is a really powerful creature, obviously. I think the first Koma might be better, though. I mean, I know it sounds insanely good to create 4 tokens like that. And obviously, because your commander's got Trample, it's going to be really difficult to not get in for combat damage. But of course, the other Koma is just creating those serpents all the time. And assuming you don't have a haste enabler, when you cast this Koma, it will come down and you're not going to attack right away and you will get absolutely nothing. It'll just sit there. You know, it'll be a real good blocker until your next turn, which you will then attack and likely get in for combat damage and create the serpent tokens. The other Koma immediately goes to work, right? Because at the beginning of each upkeep, you create those serpent tokens. And so you play your Coma, and then the very next turn you get a serpent token, and then the next turn you get another one, and the next turn. And so by the time you get around to your next turn, you've already got 4 in play. Whereas with the new Coma, you likely will have to wait another turn. Also, yeah, the Ward 4 is nice, but the first Coma, you can sacrifice those serpents to make your commander indestructible. Which one's better? I don't know. Tough to say. I guess, again, you could debate which one is better there. I think the first Coma is better. That's my thinking. It is only a 6/6. This new one is an 8/12. Definitely better for the Voltron strategy. I guess this Coma would be better for a go tall strategy, whereas the other one would be better in a go wide strategy because you're just cranking out those serpents so quickly that you can just swarm your opponents with them. It's up for debate. Which one's better? Nazar, the Velvet Fang, 3 and a black vampire warlock 3/3 with menace. Whenever you gain life, put a feeding counter on Nazar, the Velvet Fang. Whenever you gain life in mono black, not that difficult. Whenever Nazar attacks, and of course, I knew there was going to be an attack trigger here because our commander has menace, right? Of course, those two things always play into each other. You may remove 3 feeding counters from it. If you do, draw 3 cards and you lose 3 life. Now, of course, because you're in a life gain strategy, the lose 3 life is even more meaningless than it would be normally in a commander game. It really doesn't mean anything at all. So this is just remove 3 counters and draw 3 cards. Wow. So I've had people in the past tell me that life gain strategy in mono black, that's not very good. Come on, guys. It's actually really easy to gain life in mono black. I would say this is the second best color. Obviously, white's the best. Green's pretty good too, but it's definitely not difficult, right? This is likely the best mono black life gain commander now. There are a couple other life gain commanders in mono black. I mean, Vito's pretty good. Obviously that would go in the 99 here. Golem is a pretty interesting one that would also go in the 99 here. I think likely this is the best though. I mean, the payoff here is pretty fantastic. Obviously you can proliferate those feeding counters as well. Attacking with your commander might be a little problematic. You don't have to do it all the time, right? I would probably be attacking with my commander maybe every other turn or something like that. You don't have to do it every turn. Sit there gaining counters, and then I attack with my commander, remove some counters, draw 3 cards. That's pretty good, right? I think this is a really neat build around and a pretty powerful ability. All right, I'm going to end off with the commanders that I already talked about in my first spoiler video because I think they're likely the ones that are going to see the most play. General Creek, the Boltbringer, 2 and a red, Goblin Soldier, 2/2. Whenever one or more goblins you control attack, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token that's tapped and attacking. So likely you will only be getting that 1 goblin every turn from your commander, unless you have some doubling effects. But that's still pretty good and plays into the second ability here. Whenever another creature you control enters, General Creek, the Boltbringer, deals 1 damage to each opponent. So you got your win con staple on your commander here, right? Your commander is a Impact Tremors, which of course you're going to put that in the deck anyway. I think pretty much every Goblin deck out there probably has Impact Tremors in it. Having it stapled on your commander just really makes your life so much easier, I think. Is this better than a Purphoros? Probably not, because Purphoros has essentially double the damage. And I mean, if you already had a mono red goblin tribal deck, you could give this a go and see how it works out for you. Again, I'm not saying this is better than a Krenko. Probably not. But I would be curious, if you have a Krenko deck out there, swap out General Creek. Probably wouldn't have to swap out much more. You could probably put Krenko in the 99, put this guy, and again, as I've said before, whenever you're in a very popular theme like that, like mono red goblins, you just swap out commanders depending on the power level of the game you're playing in, right? If General Creek is a less powerful commander than Krenko, then you can swap it out to power down your deck. Or you can swap it back the other way, whichever. But you could very easily, if you have a mono red goblin deck, try this guy out as your commander and probably not change much else. Maybe it's better. Who knows? All right, Niv Mizzet Visionary, which I'm sure is getting a ton of buzz. Is this better than the Niv Mizzets we've had before? I still think Niv Mizzet Perron is better. I still think it is. Of course, Niv Mizzet Perron is going to go in the 99, and likely some of the other Niv Mizzets as well. So 4 blue and a red Dragon Wizard 5/5 with flying. You have no maximum hand size. Whenever a source you control, any source at all, deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you draw that many cards. Pretty crazy. I mean, it is not hard to build around that ability. And in fact, they even had a card that came out in this set, Bolt Wave, which is a 1 red mana sorcery that deals 3 damage to each opponent. And of course, dealing damage to your opponents is already good. That's how you're going to win the game. And heck, why don't we draw 9 cards off of it? 1 mana, draw 9 cards? That's crazy. You just have to keep your commander on the battlefield. I would say, again, very similar to Niv-Mizzet Perron, where if you can get your commander to stick on the battlefield, it's pretty hard to beat that deck. And of course, with counter magic, that makes your life a lot easier. Same here. Niv-Mizzet Visionary comes down, and if you can get it to stick on the table, it's unlikely your opponents are going to be able to beat you, because not only is your game plan already your win con, right? Here our win con is not stapled on our commander, but our game plan is our win con, right? I just want to be dealing damage to my opponents, and wouldn't you know it, I already want to be dealing damage to my opponents in a commander game, because that's going to have me win the game. It's also going to have me draw a ton of cards. So you got the card draw and the win con part already figured out in your commander. You don't have to do much else. Just make sure your commander sticks on the table. Really powerful commander, and I would imagine it's going to be probably maybe the most popular one from this set. Maybe. We'll see. Maybe, though, it'll be Shroofus, Sproutsire, and I don't know. I mean, I might be blowing this out of proportion. I have already called this the new Najeela or the new Krenko. I think things get out of hand really fast. As I was going over the options in the spoiler video, it didn't take me long to figure out that, okay, I think this is a kill on sight commander, right? This is a kill on sight commander, or I need to draw a board wipe quickly. Again, just like Najeela or Krenko, or maybe Edgar Markov, I need to draw a board wipe. If I don't have a board wipe, maybe in my opening hand, it might be game over. So 2 and a green, Saproling 1/1 with trample. Whenever a Saproling you control deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 green Saproling creature tokens. And again, I will just play out the same scenario that I played out in the spoiler video, because that is a very easy one to do. It's not that hard. By the way, you don't need to put any Saproling stuff in this deck. You can put a little, but you don't need to. I'm not going to use any Saproling stuff in this deck. I'm just going to use my commander. Whenever you have a 3-mana commander that you want to get out right away in green, Mana Dorks are fantastic. The turn 1 Mana Dorks, because of course it allows you to get your commander out on turn 2. So I have my Llanowar Elves. I play it turn 1, and of course there's a bunch of options there. Turn 2, I get my commander out. Turn 3, I already have 4 mana for sure on turn 3. All I need is a Giant Growth, and that's not even the best option there, but Giant Growth my commander. Now my commander's a 4/4. I get in for combat damage, create that many Saproling tokens, so I'm creating 4 Saproling tokens. And again, we're on turn 3. It is very likely that I have an opponent with no blocker, or at least an opponent that doesn't want to lose their creature in combat. That's entirely likely, almost a guarantee. So I've created 4 Saproling tokens already on turn 3. We'll go to the next turn, and I have just a basic, and again, there are better options, but I just have a basic overrun effect, which gives +3/+3 and trample to my whole team. And I'm not even using all my mana. Again, last turn, I Giant Growth. I also could have cast 3 visits or something as well. You know, there's other things you could be doing on your turn. So now I'm on turn 4. I cast my overrun. My entire team gets +3/+3 and trample. So I have 5 Saprolings in play, including my commander, that are all 4/4s. They all have trample. Maybe my opponents block. Maybe they don't. Let's say I get in for 15 damage total. So I've now created 15 more Saprolings, right? So already on turn 4, we're in the situation where it's board wipe or bust. And again, I will even point out that even if you, like, let's say you had your swords ready and you swords this commander on that turn 4 overrun play, okay, but your opponent still had 4/4 creatures that they have gotten in for damage with. They've already done, what, 20 damage on turn 4? That's pretty insane, right? So yeah, this commander to me, and again, we're ramping, kill your commander. Okay, I'll just bring it again the next turn. You know, I don't think you're going to slow them down that much. It's board wipe or bust with this commander, very much so. Maybe not quite as good as Najeela. Of course, Najeela has that ridiculous extra combats scenario that we can't do here. Edgar Markov, I would say maybe that's a better comparison, where it just goes off so fast that if you don't have a board wipe ready early in the game, things are going to be over really, really quickly. I think this is maybe the most powerful commander from this set. I know Niv-Mizzet has more potential, but it also costs 6, and you're in Izzet colors, so that ain't going to happen right away. Shroofus can get out real quick and right away. I think Shroofus can end a game quicker than Niv-Mizzet, without a doubt. All right, there you go. Commanders from this set, the more interesting ones, the ones I think people are probably going to go after as well. Some really interesting build arounds here. I think we got some pretty interesting commanders. I think there's only about 3 or 4 here, though, that are going to be some really popular ones in the format. A whole bunch of them, as I already said, are likely just going to be those 99 commanders that people are definitely going to go after, but in the 99, more so than actually building around them. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Which commanders are you excited about from this set? That is it for today, though, and thanks for tuning in.